Welcome to Self-Publishing Authors, home for candid talks and honest recommendations. From book editing to book marketing, from author journeys to inspirations. Hosted by Gurhan Demirkan.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to my show. My name is Gurhan, as everybody knows, and I am coming at you from Austin, Texas. Yes, it's a beautiful day out, and of course, I'm here with Andrea Hurst, and she has two things that she can offer. One, important, agent. Yes. Second, editor. Very important. Yes, double yes. So I just want to cut it short, and here's Andrea. Please, Andrea, where are you?
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina area with a beautiful sunny day, and happy to be here.
Okay, great. And you're ready for my questions? Pretty tough questions here, you know.
In the publishing industry, the answers to questions can change from day to day based on how fast things are changing in this business. But I will do my best to give you the most helpful answers.
Okay, so since you have two things up your sleeves, agent and editor, I'm going to start with the agent side, and then I'm going to roll into the editor side. So let's just go with the agent side. The first question I have is, how many authors do you represent?
So it varies. I tend to keep my list fairly small so that I can focus on each client with a lot of personal attention. So whereas I may have 20, 30, 40 authors at a time, only, maybe up to 10 will be in a phase where they're being pitched. So there may be authors I work with, but they're not writing any new books, or most of, they wrote 10 books before and we're still working, but there's nothing current. So currently, between me and my other two agents, we're probably in the process of authors who we're pitching on a regular basis, 10, 15 authors at a time.
Okay, so you may have, like, let's say 20, but you said we may be working on 10.
Right. I have authors that only do books maybe every 3 to 5 years. And
okay.
so they're my clients, but I don't have a lot of worked with them at this time. So, and I have authors that I've been working with for 20 years. I realized today it's been about 21 years since I opened the agency. And I still have one of my very first client was Dr. Bernie Siegel. And we have done many books together. So
That's awesome.
It is. It is.
Yes, I do book promotions, and I was just talking to one of my authors like 20 years back, and we just came to a realization that it's like the first book we were looking at. It's amazing, and how things change, of course.
Oh my gosh, how much they've changed.
Yeah. So what you said, you wanted to keep your clientele in a small numbers.
I do. I used to do, some agents are volume agents. They do a lot of authors and they run them through fairly quickly usually. I like to spend time and really figure out at this point in my career, who can I work with on a long-term basis? Who's got the types of things I'm looking for, real writing skills, marketing abilities, somebody that can handle the pressure, that understands it's a business, someone that we're going to build career together. And
so that was my next question, actually.
Yeah.
What is your ideal client,
Well, besides all of that, I can think, one of my clients, I'm thinking of two of them right now who I feel are ideal, and we've done several books. Both of them understand it's a business. And even though craft is so important, and they both understand that, they're readers. They're always doing something to improve their craft, because I work primarily with fiction now, and that's what I prefer. That they're looking at comparison authors. They're understanding what the market is, and they're very serious about their career. Also, I like people, I've worked with authors who've done really well who are very difficult clients. And that is something I would prefer.
I can't relate to that.
Yeah, I would prefer not to do that one anymore.
Yes.
So personable, they respect boundaries.
Yes.
I'm there if they need them, that's for sure. But not at midnight on a Friday night.
Yes.
So they understand.
Right. Yes.
Also, a certain amount of, for me, people who understand that an agent works for free unless their client is making money, and they're appreciative of the amount of work that may go in, even if a book doesn't sell.
That's my next question. What happens if the book doesn't sell?
It depends. I had a woman I was working with. She's probably been about, I don't know, maybe 5-ish years now. And I fell in love with her book. I mean, this does happen. I fell in love with it before it was written because it had been in another version originally. And when she told me the story, I got chills. I thought, oh, this has to be a book. This resonates with me on every level, and it's marketable. And I am going to do whatever it takes. And I ended up doing quite a bit of editing, which our agency, we do edit. We don't just take read a few suggestions. We work hard with the author. But after all of that and a lot of pitching all through the United States, it got close, it didn't sell. And I didn't, with her, there was nothing that was going to stop me. That book had to get out. And so at that point, with some clients, you just think, this is it. I've put in all this time. I haven't made any money. We have to make a living. But with her, I decided I'm going to try a foreign publisher. I'm going to try a publisher that's a little more, it's not a major publisher, but they're doing really well, and they focus on marketing. And well, the book blew up. They bought a 2-book deal, and that book sold. It's still selling. I just got information today that another foreign rights sale was done on that book, and it's been out a while. And it's sold. Oh my gosh, it just was, we were right on. It just needed the right publisher.
Yes.
But if with some clients, there's no option. We get to the end. There was one last year. We got to the end. Katie and I were doing it together. Still believe in her. I hope her next book will sell, because she's the ideal author and I want to work with her. And we spent a lot of time, but it didn't sell. So we had to let it go.
So
for
that
now,
happens also.
We put the book aside. Who knows? Maybe the next book will sell, and then we'll bring that one back.
Hey, you just mentioned a publisher who does marketing. Actually, there are publishers like that.
There are, and it's
Wow.
I prefer to work with the publishers where I know they have a strong marketing, and it used to be that the only way to market was through a New York publisher, through bookstores, as you know, you've been around, and that has changed. And so I remember when ebooks first started becoming relevant, and as an agent, we had contracts that said ebook rights this percentage, and the agents and we talk and we'd go, it doesn't matter, they're never going to do ebooks. And it wasn't that long ago. And now ebooks and things like Kindle Unlimited, for instance, can make an author, which then pays an agent too, more money than the books in bookstores, unless you're a huge bestseller. And so everything has to shift around how can you market. And also it's a lot easier for an author to market online than to go across country doing a book tour, which doesn't sell a lot of books anyway.
From time to time, my authors always ask me, hey, can we do the book signing and everything? Don't waste your time. It just doesn't work. If you want to do it, just do it locally. Just go to the local place.
Do it locally. Or if you have some big like if you have a relative or a contact in a major city, particularly if they own a bookstore, go.
So all these authors, they come to you. What is your submission process? And one more question. One more question I am going to attach to this.
Sure.
Is your submission process same as the rest of the agents?
Primarily, it depends. Some agents have forms on their website, and you have to fill out.
I noticed that.
I don't like forms myself. I don't like having to do them to get to people, and I don't use them. So, but I will say, one of the things that will almost guarantee a rejection is if you find my name on some site that, and there's a lot of sites that help you get agents,
Sure.
but you don't go to my website and you don't follow directions and you pitch to an agent that hasn't been with me for 10 years, I'm much more likely to hit delete. And that is, I just don't understand why authors don't go to the website. It's so simple. And then it tells you, this is how to query. Here's the email. This is what to send. This is who's open. This is what we're looking for. And I would say 50% of them don't get that far to even do that. So
50%.
Oh, it's high. I get every
Wow.
week, I get submissions to agents that haven't worked with me for a very long time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
seeing them on things. I don't know which sites or what.
Okay.
And then, or they're pitching genres we don't do anymore. Or they don't, they'll paste the manuscript or something into the, just follow directions. If you can follow directions, you've got a foot in the door.
Okay. So that is actually your process. Go to the
My
website,
process
read
is
the process.
go to the website. It's all there. Follow directions.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say the author came to your website, read all the things and follow the directions. You have an email and you like it, right? So what questions do you usually ask the author? What do you want to know about him?
So it'll start with a query letter. And in the query, I want to know what genre the book is, how long the book is. I want like a lead line in a small story. What is the content? I want to know comparable authors. Where does it fit? Where can I quickly in my mind think, could I sell this? And
Okay.
then any pertinent information about them as a writer. That's all I need in the query. If that is all there, I'll request anywhere from the first 50 to a full manuscript.
Well,
So
what if the author has like maybe 15 books?
only one book at a time should be
Just one.
pitched.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
one book at a time. Don't confuse everything. Just pick the one you think's the best fit and pitch it.
Okay. So if you like that one book, would you go through his books and say, hey, this one is okay, this one is okay? Or what's your process again?
Well, okay. So let's say it's a novelist
Uh-huh.
and they're writing, pick a genre. Because this is not an easy answer. What genre are they writing?
Let's just say sci-fi, military.
Okay, so military sci-fi, right away I perk up because I have a wonderful client, Mark Edelheit, who does military sci-fi and does extremely well. And he's fantastic to work with. His route to publishing was very different than I do now, but it's working and we stay with that. So military sci-fi, I know the genre. I know where to go with it. It's somewhat, there's only a few spots I would pitch, but I also know the quality I'm looking for. I know what I'm looking for. So let's say they have a 4-book series. Are you talking about a series or all standalones?
It doesn't matter. Oh, well, he just came to you with a series. Let's say that.
Okay. First of all, please tell me it's not already self-published or published at a small press.
See, that's important. Okay.
It is, because if it's already out there at this point in publishing, depending on how long it's been out and how well it's done, it may just kill anything I can do.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So he is a self-publishing author and he comes to you. He says, I have a series, let's say 3 books. Okay. Or 4 books, whatever. But he hasn't published yet. That's also good though, right?
That's good.
Okay.
That's good. Then I would say, well, is there anything you have published? Do you have a track? Like I had somebody pitch me in romance a few months ago, self-published with sales figures to back up exactly how well she'd done. Because I have to see it. If this is a self-published author with a history, this could be great. Or it can be, oh no, there's just nothing there. There's no reviews, there's no sales. But if I get a self-published author who's really showing promise, good audience, good social media, good sales, and they have a new series, that I would be very excited about.
Okay. So new author comes to you, says one book, and you love the book. Okay, he goes through the process and everything looks good, and you'll take a look at the book. The word out there is agents usually look at their social media as to how many followers they have, and et cetera, et cetera. Do you do that, or is it something like industry standards? What happens with that?
Okay, genre again. Let's say, could throw another genre at me besides military.
Besides military, let's go with the romance.
Romance?
Yes.
You know, that's a hard question because I always would like the author to have more things that I can say, oh, look at this, look at that. They won awards, they have, but ultimately it's the story. If I have seen several authors with no social media to speak of that have incredible stories with great hooks, and that's gonna hold pretty well in most areas now.
Okay.
But if they can also have other things, even, you know, a degree in writing, and which it doesn't matter, you don't need a degree, but other things that I can say, well, look, this book is good, but this author is also, you know, she used to work in marketing for Apple, you know, or something. She knows how to do this.
She knows the business.
Yeah, that can add to the package is good. But a good story, I'm always looking, we are always looking for a story we fall in love with, and it's hard to find.
Oh, it's hard to find. Wow. All those books out there, it's hard to find.
Well, it has to be a good story we think we could sell.
Yes. And you are a writer yourself, right?
I am, yes.
Yes. What genre?
But I self-publish. I self-publish my fiction, but I've been published in nonfiction traditionally.
Oh, traditionally, nonfiction. Okay. So what, how to write books or something like that?
I started in nonfiction, both as an agent and a writer. My first published book was a cookbook back quite a while ago.
Okay.
A natural foods cookbook. And then I wrote a Lazy Dog's Guide to Enlightenment gift dog book that was published.
Nice.
And then I co-wrote a few books with Dr. Bernie Siegel that were self-help, personal growth, spirituality, that kind of thing. Awesome. I know there's others and they're not coming to mind, but my original agency was all nonfiction, and we did all, and I still look at some, but it's become so platform driven with nonfiction. I had to stop with cookbooks. I loved working with chefs and cookbooks, but it's very expensive to produce. And there's so much online now, you can go on anybody's blog and get a recipe. So unless I can sign somebody with an amazing twist on something, or they've been on, you know, Food Network, cookbooks are not what they used to be. So this is part of being an agent. You have to go where the flow is.
Yeah. Well, we have to eat, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to read my next question. I wrote this. I have to ask this question.
Good.
So you are an editor and have a team of editors. But I also saw a note on your website that you don't offer literary representation for the authors that you work with. So you're editing a book and you're an agent, and this author comes to you, he says, okay, edit my book, but you're turning around and saying that, hey, I can't represent you. Is that what I'm understanding?
Okay, that is right, because let me just give you a scenario.
Okay.
People think, oh, I can pay her to edit, and then she will be obligated to represent me. And then they're buying their way. And if you can imagine a worse conflict of interest as a literary agent, that is a bad one. Number one. Number two, I really pride myself on being a very ethical and fair agent. And I don't want to cross any lines that would ruin my reputation. And so it's just not fair. I mean, there are times when I think, well, this might work for one of my other agents, even and I've been the one that have edited it, but they're few and far between where I really have to think out how much conflict of interest would it be. So 99% of the time, the ones I edit, I wouldn't be interested in anyway. But if I am, and it's a conflict of interest, I try to refer them to another agent who I think might work well.
Okay. You mean outside of your company?
Outside of my company. Yeah. I mean, it's just too complicated. Sorry, someone's at the door, but they're leaving, so that works. Okay.
Amazon guy again.
Probably Amazon.
Yeah.
It is the one thing I can say though is wearing the hat of an agent and a developmental editor with many years experience and an author. I can offer a lot of perspective as an editor and a lot of insight beyond the editing into the publishing process, both traditional and self-publishing.
Okay, so in other words, you're just not editing the book. You're also telling them how the book can be marketable, and after that, where they can go to pitch their book, or maybe you just say, hey, go to this guy and tell him my name, and your book is good.
Once in a while, I will refer with my name. That's not, because once I put my name on something, but not often. Sometimes I have definitely done that when I think the book is ready and I know somebody looking. And sometimes I might refer them. Sometimes their best chance is self-publishing. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's what I do with mine. And many of my colleagues and author friends do. Self-publishing is, again, changed to something there's no stigma around anymore. But there are some smaller presses, that you pay to basically self-publish with them. So there's a lot of areas for getting your book published. So it depends on the person, I always ask them, when they come to editing, what are your publishing goals? What did you really hope? What are you willing to do? Developmental editing is something that I think a lot of authors have skipped in the past. They don't think they need it. They go right to copy editing. They don't approach the story, which is, copy editing is extremely important after you have fixed the story.
Yes. Yeah. So that is your process. You don't usually work with the people, the authors who you edit their books. My question to you is it like this in the industry, or is it just like you? Just
well, I was when I first started, I started as an author and an editor when I started my publishing career. And that was a long time ago. So when I was working for a children's publisher before I became an agent, I was an acquisition editor and I helped with marketing, editing, developing children's picture books. And we did Book Expo and I got the endorsements, and it was a really enjoyable, actually interesting experience to go from that side. But one of the endorsements I got at the time was Dr. Bernie Siegel for one of our books, and who wrote Love, Medicine, and Miracles and sold more than 42 million copies worldwide. But I wasn't his agent then. But he said, I've always wanted to do a children's book, and my agent is retiring and doesn't do children. And I had been thinking of starting a literary agency. And so I thought, oh my gosh, this could be my first client, and I made that jump. Okay, but at the time when I made the jump, I still had an editorial side business, but you were not allowed to do that. I immediately was told, if you put that on your website, we're not going to invite you to conferences. You're going to go on some of these sites. Oh yeah, back then, some of the sites like Author Beware and whatever some of those are would say, don't go to this agent because they're not legitimate, because they also offer editing. So AAR was not, if you were a member of AAR, which is what it was called back then, you were not allowed to take money for anything and call yourself an agent. So I had to pull back from the editing, but slowly I started thinking, this is ridiculous that we can't offer. And as it became more and more acceptable, I brought forward the editorial services again. And I have noticed now, particularly lately, the agents I know, many of them, not all of them, but many of them also have an editorial side. Whether they transfer their editing clients to their agency, I don't know, but I would imagine that 90% at least of the ones that come for editing are not at the level to
Okay.
offer.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just know I'm real clear with it. I don't ever want somebody to think they can buy their way into representation.
Yes.
Unless they want to, $1 million, might color that, but
That's a good number.
yeah, I'll take that. But I still can't
Okay.
guarantee I could sell it. There is no guarantee ever that you can sell a book. It's just,
Unfortunately, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
And I have authors coming to me and says, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. How many books are we going to sell? Okay. My
depends on them.
my question to them is, okay, so you give all that money to Google, advertise anything that you want. And do you ask Google, okay, how many of whatever you're going to sell? No, because there are no guarantees. What do I know? Yeah.
It really is. I used to say, I wish I had a crystal ball, because there is
Yes.
no other way to determine these things.
Yeah.
And although I still feel exactly the same, the longer I still get confused. Like, why is this book selling? Although sometimes, like, I remember, what was it that when Twilight came out, everyone was talking about Twilight, and all the agent panels were, why did this book do? And da, 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 da. And so I read it, and oh my gosh, the first book wasn't written very well, but I could tell you, after analyzing it, to see what were the components of it that did bring it out of the slush pile and appeal to people. Now, why hers over someone else's who could have been almost exactly the same? Right, the right person read it at the right time. It hit. I mean, it is a roulette wheel in some ways.
Yes, yes. I get through all those things also. People just come to me and says, okay, see this author? He wrote only one book and just hit the ceiling, all #1 and everything else. And I always go, who's the publisher? Of course, one of the big boys. And my second question is, okay, is he a well-known businessman or one of those pastors and whatever? Either one of them. He's got this huge following. Of course, he's going to hit #1,
Right. And that's where you can kind of guarantee, if you
yes,
have a lot of it depends on the author too,
yeah,
and how much, again, they're willing. And some authors don't want to market at all. And at a certain level of success, you can kind of stop a lot of the marketing. But even some of these big authors you see, they're out there. I have one author that does a lot of Amazon ads on his self-published series. He also has traditional through me, and they feed off each other in an incredible way. But he spent a lot of time and money learning how to do Amazon ads and figuring it out and testing it. And he's smart and capable with these ads. So it's paying off for him. But other authors may say, oh, I tried Amazon ads and I didn't make
doesn't
any.
work. Yeah.
So why,
Go talk to Gurhan. Okay, so that was the agent side. I'm going to roll into your editing side.
Okay.
A few questions. Okay. So there are quite a few editors out there.
And more
So,
every day. More every
yes,
day.
I was going to say so many of them coming along. And my question to you is, what sets you apart, and why would an author come to you and disregard the other ones?
It's a good question. Of course, when I put the business hat on, I always think about that. And I think really what I mentioned before is I approach it from 3 directions. So not only have I been a developmental editor for many years, and I have worked with both published and unpublished authors. So right now, a lot of my clientele comes through agent referrals and publishers who have already signed the author, but the book needs work.
Okay.
So I would say another half or less are referrals either through the website or they met me or something. They heard me speak, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of those are really beginners who don't, I look at it and I think, oh my gosh, this is probably not going to sell, but what can I teach them? What is the most I can do? And I believe with the developmental edit, I, as an author, see, I know the author side too. So I feel like I have the ability to talk to them in a way that will inspire them rather than discourage them. I know what I don't like coming back to me. And I learned that with my first self-published book. The editor said to me at our meeting, in the first chapter, I hated your protagonist so much, I wanted to throw the book across the room. And I went home and I cried and I almost threw the book away. And now that book yesterday hit 3,000 reviews on Amazon. So that was a good
Wow.
lesson. That was a really good
Yes.
lesson. But also, I prefer as a developmental editor to do a lot of the editing in the manuscript, in track changes, because to get I do a long editorial report too. But when you can see right where it belongs, right here it's slow, this particular area is not, when you can see it on the page as well as have it reviewed in a report as an author, oh my gosh, that's a gift. So I think that's really important. Then also I have the agent hat, so I can think, oh, this is marketable. This is what needs to happen. I had a women's suspense thriller come in, and I know that market really well, both because I enjoy reading and watching it and all of that, but I've edited a lot of it. So I can tell them pacing. I can tell them things that I know the publishers are looking for that's missing. So I think it's a pretty valuable service altogether. I think too, I'm very encouraging and I want them to succeed. So I will do what I need to do to help them to the best of their level. And
Okay.
I
So,
figure that'll draw people, right?
yeah. Well, if what you're saying is you're working with the author, basically. You
Yeah.
already know if this book is going to sell, and if it sells, how it's going to sell, what needs to be done, developmental. And as an author, you're looking at it from another direction. All good. So, author comes to you. He says, "This is the only book I have. I have no intentions of writing another one. I would like you to edit it and let me know if I can sell this book." What do you do?
Well, that does happen. I mean, I'm just thinking of somebody that we worked on that last year. And he's a businessman who was his first novel. Intriguing premise, really intriguing premise, which is good. And I said, how much? Basically, when I talked to him first, just to get a feel, how much do you want to work on this? How much do you want to learn? How much are you willing to do? So most of my developmental edit clients are one round. It's an intensive round with a lot of edits and a report. And sometimes they pay for an extra consult as well. But with him, he decided to go for multiple rounds because he's determined to, okay, I want you to look at this. Is this right now? Is this right now? And he said he felt like he had a master's in writing by the end of all of it. He learned so much and now I hear he's writing another book. But
it's you. It's you.
He's hooked. But it's very hard to say if something's going to sell because sometimes I'm very sure it's not. But again, it's my opinion. I have seen things sell that I didn't think would, that I've turned down things that sold. So, but sometimes it's pretty obvious, but they don't want to hear it. If I approach it lightly, and they say, oh no, I'm not going to change this, or no, I like my mother or my whatever wife loves it, then it's just up to them. It's, I've done what I can do.
Yeah, yep. Okay, so there's line editing, developmental editing, and there are more editings. What type of editing services do you offer you and along with your editors within your organization?
My editors are developmental editors.
All of them.
They're story content editors. That is our real strain. We all do very light line editing too, because like, let's say there's a lot of passive voice, or someone doesn't know how to punctuate dialogue, things like that. We'll mark it off and say, here's 2 examples, and this is what the correct is. Or, but we're not going to rewrite. Sometimes I will rewrite a sentence or 2 to give them an example of why and how it might be smoother. I don't think a copy edit should be done until the book is absolutely done. We don't offer that, but I do have referrals to certified copy editors who grammar, punctuation, spelling. If I had to think about that, I wouldn't be able to think about the story. So we do developmental editing and light line editing with the developmental edit.
Okay.
And that is it. And then we refer out for other things. Yeah.
And I'm guessing you have a bunch of editors in mind that who can do a good job,
I have a few, because if I don't know for sure their work and how they treat authors and, that they're ethical, I'm not going to refer them.
Yes.
But I do, I do have a few for sure that I know specifically. I've seen their work. They've worked with me. I've seen their edits. I've seen their books, who I trust. But I'll tell you, the copy editing is the hardest, because there is no one that's going to catch everything. And no matter who I've worked with and how good they are, there's always something you miss. So
it never ends.
Yeah, it never ends.
It never ends. Yes, you're right. Okay, so what genres do you work with?
Well, the 3 of us, or there's really 4 of us who do editing, including Sean. Sean specializes in fantasy primarily. All types of fantasy. He does young adult, middle grade, and adult. He is self-published and doing extremely well in fantasy. All of the agents go through training with me in certain genres, but some are just, more focused. Katie and Amberly and I, anything in women's fiction, from romance to historical to literary to upmarket book club fiction. I love that. Like I said, I love suspense and thriller. Just about anything in the romance area. I love World War II. I love historical books, anything in that era.
Oh, okay.
Katie also likes historical. And let me think, what else? How can I do work with some pretty big sci-fi clients with editing, and one of them does space opera, and I love his books, and so I've been working with him for 10 years. But he's an exceptional, very successful writer. So if at that level, I love to work with that. But if I get a 200,000 word person with a sci-fi book that doesn't know how to write, I really don't want to go there. It'd take too much time. So women's fiction of all types, some sci-fi, definitely. There's a lot of fantasy interest here. I'm trying to think what other genres are there. I used to do dystopian. I don't see as much as that anymore. I worked with a big author and self-published, and some traditional he's done with dystopian. What am I missing? What other genres?
I think that should keep you quite busy in these days.
Yes. Yes, it does. Well, yes, I think I'm trying to think what I'm working on right now, and it's kind of all over the place. So, but like I said,
obviously you're not working with nonfiction, right?
Well,
on the editing side.
I do work with nonfiction, but it's
You
such
do?
a different area. And for me to be involve myself in nonfiction authors again now, would be very expensive for them. With fiction, there is a story. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. With nonfiction, there's so much left brain works. A professional came to me recently who needed his whole book proposal written, his table of contents, his chapters edited, a query letter. This is going to take me a long time. And that's what I used to specialize in. I know how to do it, but it's financially not worth it to me unless they could invest quite a bit.
Yes, yes. Oh, well. So we went through your process for being an agent. What is your process for taking a client for, editing his book or her book?
Editing. Okay.
Yes.
Well, generally they come through certain sources. But if they just come directly through the website,
Yeah.
I always want to know, what are you writing? What genre? How long is it? What are your publishing goals? Do you have any writing experience? And then I want to see a sample, usually like a first chapter.
Mhm.
And then we talk about how long it will take. Do they want just one round, which most people do? And then we'll look at budget.
Okay. And regular sci-fi book.
Pardon?
First regular sci-fi book, first time author, wrote a book, came to you. How long is it going to take?
How long's the book?
Well, let's say 300 pages. Let's just say
Well,
that.
300 pages isn't bad. Most of them are much longer than that.
Yeah.
I usually say 4 to 6 week turnaround.
4 to 6 weeks. Okay.
And it depends.
And
Like right now, I am so booked that they'd have to wait to start till mid to late April just to start.
okay, that's what
So
I was
it
going to
really
ask.
depends. Yeah, it depends. Sometimes we're open. Like somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to be late. I can't get it to you for another month," and then there's a slot open.
Yes.
And right now, Katie and I are really full. I know Sean will probably be open next month, and I'd have to check with Amberly. So
Well, so you don't have a late fee?
no, but if they, if it's much later than it's going to be, then we may not be able to hold the slot because we may have
Of
booked it
course.
out.
Yes. Yes. Well, these are all my questions. Do you want to add, delete? Well, let's not delete anything. Do you want to add anything?
I think I realized something when like I said, my first self-published book that came out in, oh gosh, I think it was 2013 or 14. I was nervous about putting it out. And the reason I'm saying this is for authors is don't let it discourage you. I was worried as an agent, and I was teaching for an MFA, low residency, and my reputation, and I write charming women's escape fiction. And I thought, oh, do I even want to put my name on it? And all this experience I have actually writing a novel is not an easy thing. And I thought, well, I'm going to learn self-publishing this way, which I will help my clients.
Yes.
And I know what to do. I mean, I've worked in publishing, but I thought, finally, I just thought, I'm going to put it out there. And if 10 people read it and like it, I'm going to be so happy and I'll have accomplished this. And I think it's important. It's scary as heck to put it out. And there's horrible reviewers on Amazon that will tear people's work to shreds. And even though the editor was going to throw the book across the room, I've had really good success. And that book has turned into a 3-book series with 2 novellas, one on each end. And I've written some standalones. So don't give up, but learn. I try to get better. I can recommend a couple books for novelists that I really like. The Writer's Journey by Christopher Vogler really helped me understand story. Save the Cat writes a novel. Plot and Structure is a wonderful book. Learn the craft and don't give up.
That is your recommendation.
That's my recommendation.
Yes. I'm going to put that in black and white. This
Okay.
is what you do.
Yeah,
Listen to this lady.
and the fear is normal. Even some of the biggest best-selling authors I talk to, and they're still what is that thing called? Where you have that, you think you're faking it. You know what I mean? That you're not really. I can't think of it right now, but you just have to keep putting it out there and be brave. But also on the other end, take some time and learn about this business before you start submitting.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I do want to thank you for your time. I know it took a while for us to get together. You're busy.
Yeah. We did it though.
Yes, we did it. All good. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Self-Publishing Authors, home for candid talks and honest recommendations. From book editing to book marketing, from author journeys to inspirations. Hosted by Gurhan Demirkan.